All right, what's the crack? This podcast is sponsored by Now. You know Now? You've been streaming on Now. I have been, and I've been watching The Last of Us. Most recent episode dropped there early because of the Super Bowl, and was it a doozy? I tell you, those big HBO set pieces, not to spoil anything, but it does feature a new type of infected, the bloater, May. And no, I'm not talking about me after eating a rake load of Chinese. I'm actually not talking about that. It's actually really serious. It's actually one of the toughest infected there is, actually. Big, massive yolk with loads of like fungal armor and all. Really hard to kill, actually. And it was a really good episode. What am I talking about? Look, you have to find out for yourself. You should check out The Last of Us streaming, available with a Now Entertainment membership. And now, on with my stuff.
It's Tony Cantwell Shitshow. And I know that the show is Tony Cantwell Shitshow. And I know,
Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day. I love you. I just want you to know it's Valentine's Day, that there actually is someone who's your Valentine. There actually is someone who's in love with you. Here, I know you're alone and we're mates now, but I was trying to let you know there actually is someone who loves you this Valentine's Day. And it's me. It's actually you're the one person I can't tell who my Valentine is. That's the thing, though. I've sent this text 5 times in my life. That's the thing, though. You're the one person I can't tell who I'm in love with. Little forlorn boy. You little forlorn little wagon. You goddamn little wagons. You little, look, I know we're mates, right? And I know I was giving you advice about who to kiss at the girl talk, but it's been eating me up inside. Because I'm in love with someone, alright? And you're the one person I can't tell who that is. Cryptic language, you know? Should have just been like, hey, look, baby doll, sugar cakes, right? I know we're mates. I want to take it to the next level with kissings involved and holding hands. You're a hot young thing. I'm a young little dampy. I got a little V. I got cum gutters coming out the wazoo, right? I'm a hot little specimen of a yolk. I got a nice little pink butt, all right? Yes, I am a virgin, but that means that no one else has had their hands on me. I want you to be the first. I want you to be the lucky one. That's what I should have said. Rather than, I'm in love with someone. Oh, who? I can't tell you who it is. Anyway, does it make sense to anyone? Happy Valentine's Day. I mean, when you talk about frigates, like, God, I wish I'd just been like, you know, just kissing. Just been like, hey, yeah, you want a little kiss? You know? I mean, I've been on so many platonic Valentine's dates in a kind of ironic way, you know? Let me tell you the thing about irony. You end up being a frigid. if you live, we're actually going on kind of an ironic date. Oh my God, you know? There's friend zone. There's gay best friend, but you're not actually gay, right? No, this is the tier, right, of... Let me tell you about the friend zone, right? Sorry if you can hear a bus beside me. It's because I'm in my fucking car again. Let me tell you about the friend zone. There's tiers to this thing. There's I call it the 3 tiers of reluctant platonic relationships, right? And the lowest rung, all right, is the friend zone. Now, I don't like the term the friend zone, okay? Because the friend zone usually is like you get friend zoned, as in a verb, by a girl, right? Or by a guy, depending on whatever you're looking for, right? But in my situation, it would have been a girl, and like everyone has a big laugh about it. People are like, oh my God, this guy got friend zoned. You see it on the internet. This is what happens when you get nuclear friend zoned, right? But the onus has been put on the person, the girl. The onus is on the girl to friend zone a guy, and that's not fair. This girl just entered a friendship with a guy. You know, they just hang out, they text, they eat popcorn, they watch the OC, right? That was on the level. But what this girl doesn't know is this guy is actually a liar because he wants something else. This guy is actually a double agent. This guy's Billy Costigan from The Departed, okay? And he's looking to get nice and cozy with Frank Costello, you know? Jack Nicholson. And Billy Costigan wants to ride Jack Nicholson. I've lost this analogy, but the point is, the friend zone is a thing that guys use to put a responsibility on a girl whose fault it is not. And this is what happens. This is the amount of pressure that happens. Then all of a sudden there's a friendship, right? Friendship, guy and a girl. And then all of a sudden the guy is like, yeah, I want to take this to the next level. What will that entail? Well, it'll entail you not seeing any other fellas. Oh, shit, okay. It'll entail you kissing me exclusively. It would entail you carrying a lot of my fucking baggage. My emotional shit. So that's the option. Do you want that? Yes or no? And that's an option. It's like a cup of tea. I've mentioned this before on the pod. It should just be like a cup of tea. She'd be like, do you want that? No, I'm good. You should just be like, nah, I'm actually all right for that. Do I want to radically change our friendship completely from the ground up and lose essentially everything that we have and put a lot more emotional baggage on that and a lot more headspace and weave you intrinsically into my heart? No, I'm good. But that's not to say that I don't want to continue what we have, but what you would hear, what you would hear is that you are scum. You are subhuman scum, There's a lot of illusions happen when you're a kid. So that's the lower rung, right, is friend zone. But I don't like using the term friend zone because, the friend zone really is, let's call it double agenting, right? Let's call it departing, right? Or, let's call it departing, right, where you're a double agent in a relationship, right? It's scummy behavior, but, you just want to get in tight. Then you have the middle rung, okay? The second tier of this is kind of being the straight / gay best friend, I mean, that's a dated term now as well, but the kind of like, this is so unromantic that I'm going to now be involved in your romantic decisions with other guys, right? That's the second rung of unwanted platonic relationships with someone you fancy, right? Now I'm kind of helping you, I am so unsexual in this relationship that I am going to give over completely and assist you in your sexual endeavors with other lads, right? That's the second tier. Straight gay best friend, right? And then the top tier is going on an ironic date with a girl that you wanted it to be a real thing, That's the top tier of pathetic, reluctant platonic relationships with someone you fancy. The tippity top tier is, this is kind of an ironic here. Do you mind if I kiss you, like, ironically? But, sometimes you just got to use the tools that you have at your disposal. And, if you're a bit of crack, sometimes that's what you use to get as close as you possibly can to a romantic relationship, Oh my God, I'm so glad I'm not 15 anymore. But that's Valentine's. I don't know what I'm going to do for Valentine's. I'm going to be busy. I'm going to be at the live Moulin Rouge screening tonight, chatting over Moulin Rouge, which is going to be a tough movie to chat over, but it's going to be a lot of fun. That's what we're doing tonight for Valentine's. So I'm not really doing that with Terry. I don't know if I'm going to be able to write her some erotic fiction this year, as I do some years, I think for it'll be a miracle if I even remember to brush my teeth, really, with the amount of shit that's going on these days. I tell you, it's become, since having kids, it's become a lot less E.L. James in our house. You wrote 50 Shades of Grey. It's become a lot less E.L. James and a lot more R.L. Stein. Because instead of bloody getting the ride all the time, just poop everywhere. Shit and poo, like I presume is in a Goosebumps. I've not read Goosebumps. I've not read the Goosebumps books, but I presume it's all piss and whatever, the most horrible shit. If the spine chilling covers are anything to do or anything to go by, then I'd say the contents of Goosebumps is probably the most disgusting, insane, terrifying piece of fiction. Who am I? Who am I right now? I don't even know who I am. Am I doing a bit? Am I me right now? Night of the Living Dummy was one. There was one of them. Say Cheese and Die was another. I didn't read any of them. I don't read. So anyway, I didn't write my wife an erotic story. But if I did, I would have based it in space. She'd be a hot xenomorph with another Terry in her mouth. She opens her mouth. And then another Terry comes out of her mouth. And, we get up to all sorts, probably. I'd be Ripley, a woman, just to change things up a bit. Whatever. Look, I'm moving on. and I watched the Late Late Valentines special. You'd be glad to know. For someone who I talk about the Late Late quite a lot. And I tell you, I was very jealous. I was very jealous I wasn't on the Late Late because my two very good friends, Kerry Katona. Kerry Katona and one of the members of Five were on it. No, Alison Spittle and Justine Stafford were on. They were fucking gas. They were brilliant. When they actually get comedians on there, it's a very funny show. I'll talk about them in a second. But I was very like, oh, I want to be on the Late Late. I want to be on the Late Late. And I'm slagging it like every week. I'm on the podcast slagging every week. This is what I did beforehand when I wanted to play sports, I think. And I'd slag all the people that played sports. I just wanted to, but whatever. I'm not jealous. I'm moving on. Anyway, so I was watching it anyway. So it was Late Late Valentine special where they got all the audience are single, right? And I have to say, though, dare I say it, the wettest audience I've ever, and I mean that in the most complimentary way. They were gorgeous. I have to say, you were absolutely damp and soaking on it lately. I thought you were stunning. I thought all the audience members were. It was like they climbed out of the 40-foot. They were soaking wet. They were gorgeous. They were stunning. They were very good looking members of the audience. And if that makes me a weirdo, because one of them was like a teenager and whatever. I mean, it doesn't. They probably weren't. They were probably all old. And they were liquored up. They were. You could see the red wine on their teeth. Well, you couldn't actually. They were fair. I mean, they were drunk because they do get them fairly liquored up. I remember being at a late taping and doing a really funny bit where it was an open bar and free drink or whatever, and I was sitting at the bar. And I said to the bartender, there was a couple of ladies down the end of the bar. And this is, again, one of my ironic chat-up lines. But I said, look, get a couple of glasses of wine for the ladies there. Tell them that they're from me. And it was like a free bar. And so I sent it to them. And then they they got the glasses. And they were like, oh, thanks very much. And I kind of raised the glass. Being, cheers, ladies. Which I thought was funny. They found it funny. And then as soon as they found it funny, I think I probably ran to the bathroom, cried or something. You know what I mean? Rather than just hop on the volley of, oh, that was really cool or charming or funny at least, and then the volley would be like, hi, how's it going? My name's Tony. I'd be more of like, do the charming thing, and then the volley is me running to the jacks to cry. But anyway, Ryan Tuberty comes out, sings a stripped back version of You're Just Too Good to Be True, and two dancers are dancing. And they're nice, whatever, they're fine. There's dancers. I don't like dancing, really. I think because I'm so good at it, I just kind of don't respect it as an art. But they're dancing and they look nice. And then he's singing You're Just Too Good to Be True, as you know, is made famous by the gay Jaws joke. You know, the what song this is a joke I heard in the schoolyard when I was like 7. What song does gay Jaws sing? You know, dun dun I love you, baby. It's just the same song, but that's what gay Jaws sings. Still haven't fully wrapped my head around what that joke means. Anyway, the claps are coming hard and fast and Irish. You know, I mean, they weren't quite singing. Of course, they're coming in for the da 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 da, but then they don't let up for the I love you, baby. It's still I love you, baby. And if you know, no one's thought, well, we'll just go for an upbeat. We'll go for a downbeat. You know, as you know, a recurring theme on this podcast is how lame white people are when they clap. Anyway, his bow tie is already undone. Probably some bloody lady scoring a hole off him. I'm surprised he didn't have lipstick on his neck. And he has a great line. He's doing his open monologue, Our Tubs, right? And he's talking about how there's just an audience full of single people. And he says there's a smell of want. There's a pure smell of want. The smell of pure want. And I thought that is the fucking coolest, funniest double. That sounds so much dirtier. The smell of pure want. And I started going for her want. You know, it was a good bit. But then you get into the whole routine, the opening monologue, full of rom-com puns. You know, it was. I don't remember any of them. He says that most of 5 are performing, aka 3. But of course, here in Ireland, you'd just be called 3. So you may as well just call yourself fucking Oak. If you're 3 members of 5 performing in Ireland, you may as well just call yourself Oak Tree, because we don't know how to say your name if it was 3, which it isn't. You're still 5. But 3 of the members of 5 were playing. And I turned to my wife and I said, look, I don't care how many, but Jay better be there. So I watched this space to see if Jay showed up. He said, Tubbs says he's going to be crowning Ireland's most loved up couple, which we find, we meet them later on. Lovely bunch of old dears later on. And then we get into the kind of blind date part of the, even though this is not a blind date, this person can see all the people and is very rude to all the people who are sitting there in front of her. Aoife Dines, who's 30 from Drogheda, not the accent that I'm doing. She works in IT. She says she wants a real man, and the ladies know what's up. The ladies go fucking mental at this. And I don't know where I would fit in this, scale of what a real man is. I imagine very low. She says she wants someone tall, dark, and plays GAA. So handsome, not important. Normally it's tall, dark, and handsome. The lad she ends up with is none of them. But, he doesn't play GAA. I just find that funny, I want him tall, dark, and plays GAA. That is more important than handsome. Which, good for you. I'm not into that particular game. If we were looking at articulate, maybe we could talk. Her niece and her nieces put a sign up in the post office looking for a fella for her, which would not be the cream of the crop, really, for me. It's mad how I'm not having to go at anyone who goes to the post office. No, I'm not going to have a go at anyone that goes in the post office, but it wouldn't be the cream of the crop for me. She put up, this is what the sign read. It said, husband wanted for Auntie Aoife. She is pretty and crazy. Or this would pique my interest if I was in the post office trying to deliver some fucking load of locusts or something mad shit. Like, I'd be up to delivering a load of fucking bees. She likes motorbikes and loves Paris. A French gentleman with a curly mustache would be good, but others would be good too. Let us know. Thank you, Roisin and Evelyn. That, and then they drew a picture of her, and I tell you, the picture does not do her justice. The picture makes her look like a fucking freak, to be honest. It's poorly drawn, it's crude. She's got kind of angry eyes. Her head is the size of her torso. But this is the sort, if I saw this picture, I would be interested, because I'm into like freaky looking big headed women. Look, my wife's got a massive head. I want to feel, I like to role play. I like to be the moon, and I want my partner to be the earth with her head. I want her to be Jupiter, and I want to be like a little Neptune or whatever. Or ideally, she's the sun, and me and a bunch of lads are running around her in a big circle, like the solar system. Maybe if I do get into cuckolding my wife, I will play a solar system role play. But not today. So the picture doesn't do her justice, because her head is actually quite small. So it's a shame. I'd love to bring out this big-headed woman, this cartoon that they drew. Anyway, Justine Stafford comes out. She looks great. And she is coming out with, I have to say it, some of the dirtiest, filthiest, and funniest jokes I've heard in Late in a long time. She goes, because she goes 2 vases of flowers, and she goes, I've always found batteries are a better Valentine's gift, because so that if things don't go your way, you can have your own late toy show. She's talking about a dildo. It's incredible. I love it. Anyway, Colin comes out. He's from County Laois. He's a sportsman. He's a keeper of his own. Don't know why I wrote that. Does that mean he's a goalkeeper? He's the youngest of 7. Seven sons for 7 sons. Means he's magic. I don't know if he's 7 sons. He's looking for an outgoing woman, which is a great description. I'm looking for an outgoing woman. Well, you'll have you know that Aoife is crazy and likes motorbikes, so it could be up your street. Habib from Laois comes out. He's a stunning man, and I'm not saying that just because I think black people are more attractive than white people. He's got an amazing skin, and he's got a very classically handsome face. He's a United fan. He makes gym YouTube videos, and you can see it because he's got a muscle fit tee on, And he's hot. I mean, he's tall, dark. So far, he doesn't play GAA. You know, he's looking for a best friend and a partner. An ideal mini date is mini golf. Like, I mean, I had to run very quickly to the kitchen to fetch a glass because I was turning into a puddle of water. I had to get into the glass because he was so hot. He's a stunning guy. Then you have Sean from Sligo. He's a guard from Monaghan. He was an escort. And then Justine paused in the Rose of Tralee, which I really enjoyed. He likes sport and travel. And then Justine said he's looking for someone to use his handcuffs on. Whoa, holy shit. He's looking to bust a perp. And I'm not talking about him wanking. I'm talking about him arresting you. She thinks he's too old, Sean. Ryan says, we need more. So he brings out Liam from Armagh. And Liam has a very weak wave. Do you ever blow a straw into your Coke at the top? Not making bubbles, but at the top. And it makes kind of like a weak little crest of a wave. His wave was weaker than that. Weaker than a child blowing into a drink. And he's getting blasted with the RT have a thing that they seem to have this backstage light that you just blast people with and then get them on camera, and it's so powerful and cold and blue that everyone looks like fucking Jeffrey Dahmer on backstage, and people's teeth glisten. And it's nothing on them, nothing wrong with anyone, everyone's great, but they need to do something about that. They need to have a more flattering lighting situation. There's people coming from America. I would say if I was going to America, if I was coming from America, if I was Beyonce, I'd be like, not unless you replace it with a $60,000 new lighting rig, because you're gonna make me look like dog shit up there. Not to say that he looked like dog shit, but you know what I mean. This is everything is supposed to be in the favor of the. This is not whatever. Moving on. He hasn't. So he says he's back from Australia and he's eager to go back down under. What? Did she even say that shit? She did. And I was laughing my ass off. I was slapping my thighs. Not like a creep, but in a way where I was funny. And she says he hasn't taken a hot shower in 6 months. I'm assuming he's been on the cold. Unless he's, I don't know, like a cat has been licking himself around. And he wants a friend and a lover. And not necessarily in that order. That's a bit I threw in at the end. He didn't say that. She has the option to send one of them home, and she sends Colin home. Colin from County Laois, the sportsman, the youngest of 7, is being sent home. The guy looking for an outgoing woman. Well, I'm looking for you to go out. You're looking for an outgoing woman. Well, I'm looking for you to go out. You're not here anymore, Colin. Make like a caterpillar. Huh, Colin, and get back in your chrysalis, bitch. Okay? Get out of here. Then Johnny from Meath comes out. He's a sheep farmer looking to get more than his wellies wet, said Justine. Couldn't believe it. And he steals a rose from Justine's vase to give, which becomes a recurring bit. He gets to get rid of someone, and he gets rid of the young guard. He gets rid of Sean from Sligo. Wait, I wrote down Sean is from Sligo. He's a guard from Monaghan. Or maybe he's been to a few places. I don't know. Anyway, so the guard is gone. If I was that guard, I'd say, you're getting rid of me? Well, now you're under arrest. And just arrest the guy. Put his hands behind his back, knee to the fucking throat, and say, you're coming out here and you're telling me to go. Well, guess what? You're under arrest. And what's this? And I'd drop some gack in his pockets and I'd take it out. What's this? On live TV. What's this? Bit of schnockta, is it? Going to the winter wonderland, is it? Huh? And call you, hey, I didn't realize this nose, and I'd start pulling on his nose, was a carrot. Because you must be the snowman with all this gack in your pockets. And he'd be like, stop pulling my nose. Well, you're under arrest anyway. And then Tubbs would be like, I'm so proud of you coming out here and arresting a criminal. Isn't it just amazing, ladies and gentlemen? I'm like, yeah. Anyway, she gets rid of him. Then Rafe from France, or Raf, comes out. He says, I've been in Ireland for 18 months. And he grabs all the flowers, les fleurs. I'm going to have this guy, this wagon over here, he grabs une fleur. I'm going to grab all the fleurs and bring him over. So then he gives all the fleurs. He's the second sexiest after Habib. Anyway, Justine tries to send Johnny home, and Aoife says, Ish don't think so, sends Habib home. I couldn't believe it. And then we get into the part of the game where like they ask questions, and they're all kind of like sexy innuendo kind of questions, and everyone has like a kind of pre-prepared answer that they have to act like it's off the top of their head, Like number one, I love drinking tea, okay? And I have a favourite cup. Number one, if you could be any cup, what kind of cup would you be? Baby, I would be a menstrual cup. I would be a menstrual cup because I know my way around there. And while you're stuck in the press with a bunch of these mugs, I am a menstrual cup. Looking for hugs. I rhymed at the end. It's got to be number one. When he brought up being a moon cup, I had to have him. But they didn't ask that amazing question. She asked, if my man, I actually don't know what the question was. I just remember she said, if my man was a recipe, if I could make a recipe for a man, he'd be a part Ronan Keating. Hopefully the voice, one part Ronan Keating with the bit of Ronan Keating where he goes shah, where everything's Ganesh, would be the part I'd pick. A dash of Jason Momoa. I'd go with 7 tablespoons. Thank you, Jason Momoa. A pinch of Ronan Keating, just the voice. Anyway, and then she goes and a dash of Dahi O'Shea. Nice alliteration there, the old dash of Dahi. And the first lad goes, I don't remember who, I didn't assign this to a name. He goes, well, I have the wit of Dahi, I have the body of Jason Momoa, and riding Ronan Keating says, life is a roller coaster, you just gotta ride it. I'm like, what? What kind of conversation is this between adults? What would your recipe be? And he's like, well, I am the things. I'm going to repeat back things you said again. Well, I have the wit of Dahi O'Shea, and I have the body of Momoa, and life is a roller coaster. Like, what? You just got to ride it. Life, they say, life is like a roller coaster. You just got to ride it. Also, guess what? My cock's called life. Moving on. French guy goes, well, I'm not Irish, but I know the national dish is a spicy bag. Spicy enough to make you feel hot and tasty enough to sink your teeth in. I love that. No Irish person's ever said sink your teeth into that. Sink your teeth is a fucking great term. I might use it on Valentines when I'm telling Terry not to sink her fucking teeth into my chicken balls that were split. Aoife says, I have many talents, but one is to the tin whistle. What's your party piece? French guy says something in French. Nice. No one's a fucking clue what he's saying. Liam does some Irish dancing. He does, and he says, I do a bit of Irish dancing. And I'm like, oh, here we go. And it becomes very clear he's never done a day in Irish dancing. He's obviously learned from the book of pissed up Tony Cantwell at 4:00 in the morning in a kitchen, some random kitchen, because he's dancing like I do when pretending to dance. When you get your second wind at 4:00 in the morning. But it's been a long time since I've done that. Then she has to pick, right? And this is the thing about this blind date. They're all just sitting there looking at her, but there may as well be a screen because she's like, the French lad is boring. The Aussie lad is unreliable. And then she goes for Liam, the bad waving Irish dancer. She says, hey, Aussie, I've seen your waves, yeah? She goes, hey, French lad, I've seen Jean-Luc Godard, right? And I'm not a fan of the new wave, yeah? Hey, Aussie, I've seen you out on the sea, and I've seen you surfing waves, not for me. I'm looking for a really shite wave from my boy Liam, the Irish dancer who's made up Irish dancing off the top of his head straight away. So she walks off with him, and they don't catch up with him again. Maybe they do. I had to run up at some point to check on my young fella who was crying. I think he must have known I was watching this, and he was like sympathetic. You know the way E.T. gets sore when Elliot gets sore? I think me and my son have that, like dragon heart, you know? And I think he knew that I was in pain watching this, and he was crying upstairs. He's a bit too sensitive, do you know what I mean? To my issues. Anyway, then everyone gets a full hamper of links. Beyonce plays and they applaud. I have nothing else to say about that. That's just what happened. Then we meet, we meet some of the people. You know, they do a kind of Harry Met Sally kind of thing, where you kind of meet couples who are in love, and we meet Selena and Jason from Waterford. His ma was getting her hair washed, turned her head around, saw the hairdresser, was like, "You'd be perfect for me, son," and then they got together. It was lovely. Maura Higgins comes out. And look, I like Maura Higgins. She's fun. She's great. I think she could do with an editor. You know, I think it's better suited. Like, I mean, I'd be better suited not in long form interview. I'd be better suited on this podcast, for example, or with an editor, you know? And I think she would also be better suited at just saying everything and having the best bits cut out. Not everyone can talk as long as she can. You know, she's very good at the chat. But I think it's not her kind of, you know, I don't know what they're talking about, really. They're not really talking about anything. She's talking about how she talks to her mom about everything. It's like, oh, and I mean everything, and I mean everything. And I'm like, I'm just thinking of mad stuff. Do you know what I mean? And it's probably nothing. It's probably like that she, you know, when she's hungover, she might tell her ma. But I'm, you know, not like I'm not visualizing that in mad. Like I'm not thinking, you know, I'm not sitting there slapping my thighs around like that, being a little freak, you know. But when you say, and I mean everything, you know what I mean? Like it was weird. Anyway, she says she knows every line from 50 Shades of Grey. And she wants to be intimidated by a man. And Terry's like, she didn't mean that word. That's the wrong word. And I'm like, well, we've had Aoife saying that she wants a real man. And then you got Maura Higgins saying she likes to be intimidated by a man. I hope that's not the same guy. I really hope that's not the same guy. Oh, and I tell you, if she knows every, if she knows every line from 50 Shades of Grey, you know, obviously she's a fan of E.L. James. Well, unfortunately, this interview is more of an R.L. Stein fiasco than an E.L. James sex thing. You know, it's more of a, hey, is this a bloody say cheese and die? Anyway, so then she does a weird kind of agony aunt thing, relationship advice thing. And, okay, so this is what happens. Alwyn in the crowd says her ick is bad teeth and breath. And she said she lied about getting a root canal to avoid kissing a guy. So she's about to get a root canal. And then it was not so much a question, which was more of a comment, you know? It was more of a, you know, it's like a real Comic-Con vibe. This is not really a question, more of a comment to Dominic West from The Wire. Dominic, this is not really as much of a question as it is a comment. I just think McNulty's a fucking legend. The way he treats women. All right, moving on. Weird reference there. Then Seconda was matched with a guy on Bumble, and he said he felt a really strong connection, and that was a red flag, right? It's good to know these things. Terry called it, what'd she say? She said, oh yeah, that's love bombing, which is a term I hadn't heard before. She's always coming out finding new toxic male things men do. New terms, things. I'm always like to educate myself. But she was like, she seemed to be very critical of this love bombing. And I'm like, Terry, if you're not a fan of love, you know, you can call you fucking Hiroshima love, because that's what I did to you with the love bombing. You know? You can call you Nagasaki love, because Jesus Christ, I went nuclear on your love bombing when I met you for the first time. You know what I mean? Anyway, again, these are not really comments. No, actually, sorry, it was a question, because she goes, what would be another red flag for you? She said, what would be, this would be it was very succinct. Seconda came prepared, okay? The rest of the crew, oh my God, it was like a voice note. People were acting like this was a fucking voice note. This isn't national TV. Some people need to rein, and I'm a man who can bullshit for Ireland, man. But Seconda, she goes, What would be another red flag? And Maura says if someone's rude to a waiter, and someone was once rude to a child on a date that she was on, maybe it was even a child waiter, maybe it was even a child waiter in a tapas restaurant, and her date said two instead of usted. Any of my Span fans getting that one? Did you get that one? Next we have Ross, who was heckling, says Tubbs. He says he met a lovely fella at Pride, became good friends with him, kissed him, right? Then the friendship was great, and he didn't want to ruin anything and tell him that he loved him, right? Even though they'd kissed. This is very confusing now. I wouldn't know what to make of this, right? Because they kissed, but then just became friends. And he's like, how do you tell someone that, right? And Maura's like, well, you just have to be honest, she says. You have to be honest. Can I tell you where people like to give that advice a lot? Just be honest. Look, just be yourself. Be yourself and be honest as bits of advice when people are really looking for advice. Do you know where that belongs? Do you know your fucking bin? Do you know your bin? Do you know that bit of rubbish that you have in your bin but not in the sack? Every time you take out the black sack from your bin and you look down, you're like, oh, fuck, that bit of plastic is still in there. I should really just take that out and put that in the black sack sometime. That receipt that is now starting to smell of fish. A receipt that's starting to smell of fish because it's been in there for so long. That is where the advice, of be yourself and be honest belongs. Under the fucking bin. Right? Underneath the bin. That's where that belongs. Anyway, it's a very confusing thing for this poor fella because he's also saying that that they kissed and everything, and then he was also helping him with romantic advice for his friend. So he really was both the departed and the gay best friend, but also had been romantically linked, a literal gay best friend, and had also been romantically linked with this person. That's confusing. It's confusing the fact that they were kissing and then became friends again. That I find that confusing because you know what? If you kiss me, you're getting love bombed. That's what's happening, right? You kissing me would be like you flying your kamikaze ships into my Pearl Harbor. Because now guess what? You've woke a sleeping beast and I got the A-bomb. Right? I'm coming for you. This all feels really bad, like in poor taste. Then we got Holly, who was talking to a guy back and forth. And her issue was that they were getting on brand new and getting on well. And then he brought her on their first date to McDonald's drive-thru. Nice, a driving man. Ding, 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 ding. Lightning McQueen, this guy. And then I think she had to pay for it. I think that's what she said. I got distracted by something, but I think that's what the story was. So, yeah, he brought her to McDonald's, and she had to pay for it in his car. Now, Holly, are you sure you did not go on a date? Oh, with a little boy. Are you sure this was not just a little boy in a stolen car? Hello, will you bring me to McDonald's, please? I want to get a Happy Meal because they have the new Super Mario toys in there. Will you bring me to McDonald's, please? I will give you a big kiss if you bring me to McDonald's, please. They have the new Yoshi Mario Kart. Do you want to hear my Yoshi impression? That's when... And do you know Mario actually hits him? Do you know Mario actually hits him in the head? That's why he eats everything. Because Mario hits him in the back of the head. Have you seen that? Anyway, then out comes almost all of 5, which is what Tubbs keeps calling them. The members of 5, but he is almost all. I mean, 4 would be almost all of 5. 3 is marginally more than half of 5. And to be fair, the loss of J from 5 kind of feels like you're missing 2 members. They should have been called 6, to be honest, because J makes up for so many of them. And Jay's not here. There's no Jay. Get one of these guys an isotoner glove because there's no Jay Simpsons. Does that make sense? And it's fine. They're dancing around. They're having a good time. But I'll tell you, Marty Pello last year singing like some of the Wet, Wet, Wet songs, Good Night Girl, Love Is All Around. He was singing that. He was in a place then of obviously, coming back round. Some people do it, like Rick Astley's in that kind of vibe right now. Spent the 90s, the noughties, trying to do something different. Wasn't working for him. He's come back as a kind of, not retro, what would be the thing, throwback kind of act, and is so delighted with the reach that social media can kind of give you these days. He's got a new lease on life. He's just delighted to go out and sing the songs he loves to sing. People have that. They go off and they go big in the 20s. They go off in their 30s and 40s trying to do something different. It doesn't quite work out. Come back in their 50s and they're like, do you know what? I'm fucking just delighted to be back here. You know, in a kind of weird Stockholm Syndrome, dead behind the eyes kind of way. But still, Marty Pello had that last year. 5 seemed to still be in the kind of like in the middle of figuring that out, is the vibe I got from the act, you know. But it was good to see some of the members of 5 again. But it was a tough watch. I tell you, you can call them. You should instead of call them almost all the 5. You should call them bloody the Apple Ultra Marathon, because it's a tough watch. Anyway, and as well, one of them kept saying, Island, let's do it, keep on moving, Ireland, keep on moving, Ireland. Anyway, then back to the thing. Then everyone's going to move seats now. This is the whole thing, Tubbs. And I couldn't believe this was on live TV. I couldn't fucking believe that they took a moment of live TV for this to happen. But Tubbs goes, okay, so you all came here with your friends, but you are all single. Now sit in the seat that has been allocated. Sit in the seat. There's like 150 people there. Sit now in the seat that you were allocated at the start, right? So now every single person has to move and find a seat. And Love Machine plays dun, 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 and you just hear people murmuring and moving seats for like 5 minutes of live TV on the biggest stage in Ireland. And even when they come back from the ad break, people are still talking and moving. Because, of course, it's going to, like, you're having to move loads of people out of the aisle, every single person moving to a different part. No one knows where to go to their seat. How about get the audience out at the ad break, everyone out, and ferry them back in one by one? I couldn't believe this is a logistics thing, that they would just do this while it's playing. It's taken ages. Then we go to one of the couples again that they show in the kind of like Harry Met Sally kind of vibe, where they kind of interview a couple. And it's Dean and Bonga. And they're married. They're men that are married, which is great. You love to see it. And they show pictures of their wedding, and it was a mix of Irish and Zulu heritage. And then this is what you want to see. Getting the old fucking seal of approval off his ma. Bonga's ma gives Dean a little Zulu hat. And Dean's wearing a fucking Zulu hat. White guy in Ireland, marrying his fella wearing a Zulu hat. Love it. So I was loving that. Nothing to slag about that. Comes back from the ad break, the audience still chatting away. Need to put some fucking reins on these people, Ryan. And then Ryan goes into the audience, starts chatting to people. He chats to Martin and Iholanya. His ma made him come in. And then he goes, then Ryan is like, well, what are you looking for? What kind of woman are you looking for? And he goes, oh, whatever. And then someone shouts up and he goes, I am straight though, so I am looking for a woman, you know. And then Ryan goes, so anything with a pulse, yeah? Leading question, right? And Martin goes, yeah, I suppose, yeah. And then he goes, Iholanya, what are you looking for? And she goes, well, I think I'm looking for more than just a pulse. And everyone was like, yo! Like she knows what she wants. All this part was set up by Ryan, right? He made this guy out to be one thing shy of a cadaver shagger. You know what I mean? One rung up from a cadaver shagger. So anything that's not dead, is that what you're saying, Martin? So if we were to go to Glasnevin Cemetery, you wouldn't be trying to get into the fucking graves, would you? No, because you want something with a pulse. He didn't even say what fucking species, right? He didn't even say mammal. You know what I mean? And then they said they had a conversation and it was a bit fun. She wants someone she's attracted to with good teeth, right? A lot going on about the teeth here. I brushed my teeth after it. Then you've got Stephen and Morgan. They're getting on. Sorry, Stephen Morgan. He's been paired up with Nathan. They don't like each other. Their language is very. You can feel it now coming through the screen. They're getting on ground so far. He's looking for someone in a stable relationship, someone attractive. They don't seem too keen. And then they go to Nathan. He goes, he's too young. He's too young for me. It's tough, you know. He's just too young for me, right? And that so clang, kind of two little clangers there on the chat. But then we move on. Then Alison Spittle, Kerry Katona comes out. Kerry says she's a serial monogamist. And then with her kid in the audience, she goes, well, I'm always getting divorced. And to be fair, I always, OK Magazine will always give me 20 grand whenever I pop out a kid. I'm like, oh, nah. And then Alison shouts out Simon. Go on, Simon, her fella. And she goes, and Ryan's like, how do you keep it together? And she goes, well, we both love Pointless. And then she says a fucking great joke that gets totally lost. The crowd don't hear it. She goes, I suppose the key to success is just be a shy person who doesn't row. And I thought it was really funny. Kerry starts talking about her OnlyFans account, which I didn't realise was there. Might have to open up a new Revolut card for that one. Kind of a disposable Revolut card for that one. But then she goes like, it's been dirty enough. Like, she's like, well, you know, actors masturbate on screen in a movie. What's the difference between me and them getting our kit off? I'm just doing it for me. And it keeps cutting back to her daughter, and she's like, you know, in there. Then people are telling their kind of cringy relationship stories, and this girl says that she went on a date. I thought this was very funny. I thought this was the funniest one. She says she went on a date with a guy, went back to his room, and he had a load of LED lights all over the place, like LEDs, and they were blue and yellow in solidarity with Ukraine. She's like, as if the people of Ukraine, that's really sweet, but as if the people in Ukraine are going to see this. And then he got shy, changed it to red, and put on a season 2, episode 5. And I love the way she said that. Season 2, episode 5 of Peaky Blinders, even though I told him I'd never seen any episode of Peaky Blinders. It was very funny. Dervla met a guy called John. Oh, God, sorry. This was an incredibly boring story about a brownie. This probably killed the show, this story. And I don't... and I'm sorry, Dervla. This story went on for so long that it definitely ate into time that was allocated for other segments of the show. It went on, and it had no point. It went no point. I can't even remember it. It was something to do with... There was another guy she knew, and there was a brownie, and she had some brownie on her face. But, oh, my God. I think, you know the way they use, I think they use, like, One Direction. They blare, like, One Direction at terrorists in Guantanamo Bay. I think they should get Dervla to tell the John story there. Anyway, next girl. This girl went on a date, and the guy was like, do you mind if we go to Tesco first? And then she went to Tesco with him. He did his whole shop. She was fairly mortified. And then he was like, will you help me pack the bags? And then he brought the shopping home, and all his flatmates were there, and she was mortified. Right? Now, I know I've talked on this podcast before about, like, I don't know what the name of the effect is, but there's a thing where if you get people to do stuff for you, that they like you more. I talked about this thing they did, a study where they had people go into a shop and rate the service experience out of 10, and half the people who went in and shopped normally and then left and bought something, gave it like a 6 or whatever. But the majority of people who went in met someone who was working in the shop, and like they might have been like, oh, hi, sorry, I'll be with you in the till for a second. Would you mind holding this ladder while I just put this thing on the shelf? Everyone who was asked to do a job came out of the experience rating it as a higher experience, even though it was the exact same, other than they actually literally had to do a little bit of work for the guy, you know? So I understand this whole thing of, like, you know, being involved in a job together, you know, working hard together. I understand that kind of vibe. But bringing someone for a whole fucking shop, bagging it, and helping you unbag it in the gaff with the lads in the gaff, that's too far. That's too far. I kept telling Terry how lucky she was, hearing all these horror stories. And she was like, I'm lucky, am I? This is while she was breastfeeding the baby and making me a drink at the same time. I was like, yeah, you're fucking lucky. You landed like me. Now, what's the story with that drink? Then they found Ireland's most loved up couple, Vera and John, married in 1966. They're 82 and 81. They look 60. They look incredible. And Ryan renews their vows and gives them the holiday. And that's nice. They don't cry, though, and they don't really say anything that made me want to cry, so it was a disappointment. 3 stars. I should have been given stars for the rest of these, but I didn't. I would have liked to see more of the couples hook up. Maybe they did. Maybe that was when Sonny was crying and I missed it. But I would have liked to go back to the audience and see how they were getting on. We didn't really get to recap the Shite Waver and Aoife as well from early on. I thought Justine was very fucking funny. I thought Alison was very funny. But I think her whole thing was right after all the people that have to move seats, and I think people were chatting away and not really focusing. And I think Ryan needs to put a fucking rein on that audience. But look, hopefully this review of the Late Late Valentine special will help you avoid the pitfalls of romance. And remember, if you fancy someone, do not be their best mate. Do not be a departed double agent, right? And don't ironically be giving them a kiss, right? Lead with your heart, and your cock will follow, my good boy. Anyway, look, thanks very much for listening to this pod. Write your partners a piece of erotic fiction if you have one. I love you. And if you want to come see me, you can do so this week, this Friday in Bray. GUTF, live, myself, Shane Daniel Byrne, Justine Stafford, Killian Sunderman, Martin Angolo, Emma Doran, Michael Fry will be there. Michael won't be there this Friday, but he'll be there next Wednesday as well when we do it in Dublin, Liberty Hall Theatre. Tickets are available, link in my bio. In fact, link in the description notes of this podcast. And thanks very much for listening. I like you. I fancy you. Will you be my Valentine? All the best. Bye-bye.
It's only get well shit show.